they're worried about the population because they're just not meeting girls, not interested in meeting girls, and it's really warping their relationship with people. I'm sure that's not just exclusive to Japan. I'm sure it's a thing that goes on elsewhere. I'm just throwing it out there that sometimes it's good to detox, and it's a real challenge right now when you can't easily go out and connect with people because of the coronavirus. But there's something now like a tightrope that you need to be able to think about to walk along that line, especially for your family, to make sure they can connect. And it might mean finding a different way of getting people connected. You might have to connect with Zoom, but then limit it so it's not just a completely tech experience. My daughter, we make a point of keeping her off the internet as much as we possibly can on certain days because she's got to go on Zoom to be able to talk to a school class and do a couple of hours on there. And then she does some extra classes as well because she likes doing them. Doesn't really like doing them. We like doing them. But also, then she wants to go on the iPad, but we force her to spend some quality time reading because your ability to read means that you've got a bigger imagination, not just the imagination that's given to you by somebody's interpretation of a book. And so you go, wow, that's the movie. And go, no, well, the movie's not quite like the book. The book's got lots of other stuff that's really more interesting in it. And it's really hard to take that when you can get an easy gratification of watching a ton more movies, which is faster than reading a ton of books. You know what I mean? So it's a case of just getting that balance right. But if you decide that you do want to do something about it, then this article by Vogue could be useful for you. And as you've probably seen, I am not a normal Vogue reader. How can you tell that? Because I look like rubbish when I come on the show. Oh, look, Dave, is that designer polo shirt you've got? No, it's the first one out the wash. It'll look clean. Okay. So, 5 things to consider when you go off the grid. And I think they're kind of interesting for a lot of different reasons because some of them I know that you're going to kick back against and say I don't like that, but it's all part of the game. First one, break up with social media. As I mentioned earlier, social media can be incredibly manipulative, and it's meant to be. That's what it's there for. It's not correct. Well, if you watch this show, it's on Netflix called The Social Dilemma. It's got all these experts from all the different platforms talking, confiding, and confessing all about how they drove everything. And they're all aged between, say, 25 and 35, most of them just young white men. Now, there's nothing wrong with young white men. There's nothing wrong with 25 to 35. But what it is, you've got to look at the demographic that they will represent and how they will create the entire influence on the world from the world that they're in. Is it representative? Is there enough females in there? Does it mention people of color, people from other countries? Generally, no. Why? Because that's not their experience of the world. So you've got to think about what the experience of the world is because there's huge influence involved in social media. I don't want to go down a big argument, yeah, but Dave, when you open it up in this country and people use it, then you got all the other people use it. I know that, but the way it's set up doesn't take on a load of different levels of what you maybe need to build a culture. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, going back to social media, breaking up with it is actually useful in a lot of ways. I use social media as and when I want to. I go live on a show like this, I do an hour or so every day, and then I stop. That's it. I don't bother surfing. I'll maybe check every now and again to see whether people are watching it or not. And that's it. I don't do much more than that. And I find that kind of satisfies me in many ways. Before, when I used to write articles, I used to put memes together and send them out there, or really short videos. I'd be constantly checking, how's it going? Who's on it? Who likes it? Maybe I should tag some people. All this kind of stuff. Now, that's the way social media has grown. I know it's important to be out there. But at the same time, you've also got to have your sanity and you've got to have your own space and your own plan of what's going on. Your goals normally don't involve just being social media savvy. And if they do, I don't think you've got the right goals. Combination of, yeah, I think you've got to know it. It's a real tool. It's like driving your car. You have to have a knowledge of how to brand yourself and do social media, but it doesn't mean necessarily it's at the expense of being a human being. Okay, then number 2, go on a road trip without using Google Maps. That means just navigating, or maybe even just going on a road trip where you just go, where should we go? I don't know. I remember years and years ago, before I came to live in UAE, I went off with one of my girlfriends. Not one of my girlfriends, like, ooh, I'll have number 7. What's your name again? Kathy. Kathy, come with me. It wasn't like that. I was with somebody at the time. So we went off, and we decided what we'd do is we'd just take a long weekend, just pack some clothes into suitcases, and go. Didn't know where. Just drive. And wherever we drove, we'd stop for lunch, we'd drive on, stop for dinner, and when we got for dinner, we'd find a place to stay, and then the next morning, we'd go off in any other direction, and it was fascinating. And on the 3rd day, we actually got out of town. No, we drove. But it's just interesting to do that kind of experiment where you go on a road trip and you don't really know where you're going to go, but you're just going to take it. When was the last time you didn't book ahead? And you just thought, well, I'll arrive and see how it all goes down. Interesting. And it is really good because then you spend more quality time with the adventure as opposed to knowing what's exactly going on and staying in five-star hotels where it's all pre-made for you. And it's kind of, I mean, I'm not knocking five-star hotels, are fantastic things to be at. But what I'm saying is the more you experience the world around you and the more you're in charge of what you create, the less you crave the artificial surroundings of people telling you what you need. And the less they can influence you if you create your own comfort zone based on the stuff that you love. Not what anybody else tells you should be loving at that moment in time because you read it in an article or it was liked by many people. Okay, delete your Gmail account. Don't have to delete your Gmail account. There's a lot in this. I would just say, even with don't delete your social media. It's important that you keep it, but just detox yourself from it. From your Gmail account, yes, I know it's all the stuff that's related to it, but just take time away from all this stuff. You see, if you delete all these accounts, you also leave it really difficult for you to come back. Now, that might be your choice, but I don't think in a world where everyone else is doing that, then you should really step out of it unless you've got a bigger plan, like the fact you're incredibly minted and you don't need to work ever again. If you do need to work at some point, people need to find you and you need to find them. And they'll look at your history. And if they say that you've only come on social media 2 years ago, they're going to say, what, were you in prison? Excuse me. And then you sneeze and you say, no, I wasn't in prison, I was in the Arctic. And I caught a cold from being constantly out there because I was saving the penguins. So how do you feel about that now with your sarky comments? And they'll say, so is it the Antarctic or the Arctic where there's penguins? Because I know one of them's got polar bears and one's got penguins and others have got, so which one was it? And you go, it was the Arctic. Google it if you want. Google it in front of me if you don't believe me. And they'll go, okay, I won't Google it, which is probably just as well because I've got no idea which one it is. And then you can say, because the thing is, we're saving the environment, and that's what we're doing. So that's why I sneezed. And they'll go, you know what? You're a really smart person, and we love the way that you feel about climate change. We love the way you feel about, looking after animals and keeping them. But unfortunately, you're a really argumentative sod, and we don't want you in this company. Because if you do this to everything, even when you sneeze and have an argument and call our bluff, what's going to happen when we do something that means something? Come in and say to you, have you got the details finished for that proposal we're going to do for that company over there? And you say, the proposal? Do you remember I was in the Amazon? Out. Get out. And that was all my job interviews ever. Okay, number 3. Take a weekend retreat to a remote, secluded location. Somewhere where you can't get Wi-Fi, somewhere where you can't get internet. You can take some tech with you, so if you need to, you can use your phone, but stay off it because it's your data package it's going to get caught up on. And take some music if you want to. Maybe even take barbecue stuff. Stay in a log cabin somewhere or a chalet or something. There's loads of places you can go to do that. And you know that it's going to be corona free because it's just out in the States, in the middle of nowhere, long before corona was there. So it's worth thinking about because it really changes your perspective and stuff. When people can't reach you easily. And when you get there, tell people where you're going to be and say you'll turn on your phone once a day if they need you. But the odds are they won't need you unless you've left your kids behind with hammers and super glue in your house, in which case they might need to call you to say the house is on fire. Can you get back, Dad? Where's Mom? Oh, she's blooded. You know what I mean? So be careful about that. Tell people, take your kids with you if you have to, but bring them with you because that's otherwise irresponsible and you'll be arrested when you come back. Number 4 is this. Was it number 4? I've just gone too far, haven't I? No, this is number 4. Okay, downgrade to a flip phone. That was weird. A flip phone. Do you remember flip phones? Well, you don't remember flip phone. A flip phone was like a proper phone, but it did this thing like a communicator. You can't see it there. You can see it there. It would open up like a clam, like that, and you talk to it. Not like this, because that looks pathetic. It looks like I've got my head caught in a Venus flytrap. But it would open up like that, and it didn't do anything else apart from just basically you could make phone calls and text if you had the world's smallest fingers like that. That was your texting, and you could make calls. It didn't look very cool, though, because it would be half the size. You put it in, and it's the nearest you could be to being in the FBI. Because in the FBI, you'd say, don't move, like that. But in the real world, you go, flip phone. Mum? Yes? Egg and beans, please. Yeah, egg and beans. with chips. Thank you. Yeah, I will get bread. Yes, I won't be too long. And I can't tell what time it is because I haven't got a watch on. And the only place I've got the time is on my phone, and I'm talking to you with it. So it's a flip phone. It doesn't have a it doesn't have an audio thing on it. So I can't do a remote speaker. Okay. Thanks, Mum. And yes, I apologize for all the things I've said about you while I was away from you, and I'll take it out on anybody that stays at our motel. Cool. Love you. Bye. That was Norman Bates from Psycho. He had a flip phone. If you watch it, I know it's a black and white movie, but if you look very carefully, you can see in his pocket it's either a gun or it's a flip phone. So there are the things I want to share with you about getting away from everything, and it's kind of useful. This article says, "Ooh, is that Norman Bates?" No, it's not. It was just a chick. So if you find that interesting, there's 5 things to get off the grid. I'll just count them back, so I think I missed one. Break up with social media, get that, yeah. Road trip at Google Maps, yeah, got that. Delete your Gmail account, got that. Weekend location, got that. And downgrade to a flip phone. There was everything. Why did you say it was only 4? Why are you staring at me and saying there's only 4? You know there's more than that. You're being crazy. So anyway, I love your comments, love your thoughts, love all the stuff you do on a daily basis. And we'll be talking to you next about what you need to do and how to do it when you want to detox from tech. Comes through fastest. There we go, and it did come through. I thought you'd like to stare at that image for a little bit too long, and it was exactly what I planned. So there we go. So how do you dump the tech and find yourself? I'm going to be sharing some ideas with you now. You might want to get a pen and paper and write them all down because they're very useful for you, or you just might want to take a snap screenshot of the last slide, which should have everything on, or you could do something else, which is just stare at me drinking coffee and going, well, Dave's kind of boring today. I don't know what he's talking about today. But he's had an argument with the wife. I haven't had an argument with the wife. I had an argument with the wife, the daughter, and the 2 dogs. What happened today? I slept in. So, how does that affect everything? Well, if you sleep in, a couple of things happen. First of all, I don't take the dogs for a walk. So when they look at me with disdain. They look at me like this. No, not what they normally look at me is like this. Are we going out? Are we going out? Can we have dinner? Are we going out? We got biscuits? But today it was like this. You make me sick. And we've got a long face and doggy ears, but you can tell that's what they're thinking. So the dogs were kind of like that today. The daughter, because I slept in, was like, Dad, I thought we were making breakfast together. We're going to reproduce a pancake shop in our house, and you said you'd join in. So I couldn't have sleep. So she wasn't talking to me, and the wife turned around to me and just said, do this, do that, do this, do that, do this, that. And the thing is, because my wife is beautiful, she comes from a different country to me, she can say it in about 4 different languages, and they're all muttered. Every single one. She speaks Mandarin, she speaks Arabic, English, and Malay. And probably other stuff I don't know about. And so I'm turning around, and so I can't have a proper argument. I'm just going to say, I'm really sorry, or I'll say it was your fault, or whatever happens in normal arguments, and she'll turn away and go, oh, and I never know what it is. And I can't Google it because it's not said loud enough for me to be able to capture it with my flip phone and go, what was that again? Let me just check on it. Nothing. So her arguments are better than everybody. And just like that, the whole family gives me this look. Then the whole family, including the dogs, put their glasses back on. So, okay, so let's get back to what you're going to do to dump tech and find yourself. First thing is this, stop carrying your phone everywhere. Now, if you're in a house, you don't need to carry your phone everywhere. Even if you go upstairs, downstairs, in your lady's chamber. It's a song, isn't it? But if you leave the house, you kind of do a bit, but don't have to take it. As long as you know how to get access to it, leave it. If you're in your office, you can leave it there, but somebody might steal it. So maybe you should bring it, but just don't look at it all the time. If you know what I mean. It still matters and it still counts, but it's just don't have it there all the time and in your face. Okay, number two, and if you want to write these down, then they could be very useful for you. If you don't want to write them down, then you'll never know what I was talking about. Don't use tech for 30 minutes at a time. So when you wake up, don't go straight on to check all the news and everything else. Do some exercise or meditate or something else instead. Have 30 minutes of non-techie stuff. It's really useful for you, and you also get to do something else. There's a really good video we played earlier where she said, well, do a trade-off. If you can do some exercise, you can watch your favorite TV show while exercising. And then when you stop exercising, you've got to watch the show. But the thing is, if you can't exercise for an hour, you'll never know what happens at the end. Does Batman escape or what? I don't know. And I'm talking about Gotham. But of course, you've not seen Gotham. But if you have seen Gotham, you're going to contradict me and say, Dave, Batman's not in Gotham. It's pre-Batman. That's why it's called Gotham and not Batman. See what I did there? I don't really know. Number three, don't use screens for an hour before you go to bed. Read a book instead. Apparently that's what Obama does. Apparently that's what Bill Gates does. Not sure if Donald Trump reads. Probably doesn't. Said he doesn't anyway. So an hour before, leave the screens, read a book so your brain can just go, and relax. And as it does that, it leaves you in a much better position to be able to go to sleep without having a headache or nagging thoughts or images that pop up in your mind. Does that include watching TV? TV might be okay, I'm not really sure, but if you get into a habit of reading a book, then you can program your thoughts and your imagination to have really exciting dreams when you go to bed as well. That's another story that we can do when we start talking about hypnosis. It's rather cool. All right, so we've already got number three, don't use stuff for an hour before you go to bed. Number four is this one, get your TV out of the bedroom. If you've got your TV in the bedroom, and I've not had a TV in the bedroom for many years, since Aziz and I have been married, about what, 15 years, 20 years, 35, 80 years, can't tell how long we've been married. But anyway, one of the things that we made as a decision is if you've got a TV, then it becomes a slave to the conversations. If you don't have any electronic items apart from your phone when you go to bed at the side, then it means that you've actually got to talk, and it means that you can use your bedroom for sleeping, which is much better. And I've never regretted doing that at all. It's a really good thing to do. Unless you live in a studio, in which case you haven't really got a choice. You've got to have a TV in the bedroom because you're sleeping on the sofa. And you've also got to have a kitchen and a living room because it's a bed sit, and that's how it works. Okay, number 54, the House of the Bamboo Doll. Number 5, don't use tech during meals. Have family time, have quality time, talk to each other. And if you have to reference your phone, then you have to put some money in the swear box. That's two different things, completely different. But you have to take some kind of penalty for looking at your phone. I think it's really important to spend quality time if you're in a family with family. And it's always good that you don't look at your phone unless somebody's calling you and you have to check it. But don't use it as part of policy, because you just have much more inventive conversations or arguments instead. So that's number 5. Number 6 and number 7 we'll kind of put together. So number 6, put timers on kids' gadgets so they can be monitored and limited, because that way you know how long they're spending on it. They will hate you for it, and probably for the rest of their life will blame you. But at the same time, it means for the rest of their life you're not paying for therapy to get them off the gadgets that they got ingrained. And the thing is, when you understand that, as I said, number 7, understanding the dangers to your sanity and happiness. If you don't have any of that stuff around you, you're not dependent on anything but you to be happy. And if you go back to your childhood, if you're my kind of age, you do remember times like that. What I used to do every day when I was a kid, and it sounds ridiculous, but when I was off school, I'd get my football and I'd just go out the house. Seriously, I'd have breakfast and just go. And we had a park. I lived in Scotland, in Trinity in Scotland. And I'd go to the park with the ball and just kick the ball around. And sometimes people would come out and join me. And we'd have a big game of football until lunchtime. And we'd either go home for lunch or go to somebody else's house for lunch. And the parents would always just say, yeah, come in, have a sandwich, whatever. In those days when you trusted other parents and you had no coronavirus, so you could just do that stuff. And I'd sometimes only come home when my dad was on the way back from work. So I'd come back home and would eat, and that was it, done deal. That's the kind of thing that I would do in the early days. And I was creative and thinking about stuff all the time, and much simpler, dumber years. Give you this, I probably wasn't as smart as my daughter. My daughter's much more savvy about things going on, but I think there's a lot to be said about the balance between emotional intelligence and also tech intelligence. Kids nowadays are much more techie, but does that mean they're emotionally wired the same way? I don't know. I would say that Generation Alpha, which is my daughter's age, they certainly have a lot of moral judgments that they can make at very young ages because they're connected with people and they think differently about the world as a global village. Whereas what we did as kids was we waited till our parents told us what we should think, and our parents waited till their government told them what we should think. So maybe going back all those years ago wasn't exactly the perfect balance as we remember it. It's quite deep, wasn't it? You understand what I'm talking about? Yes, no? Fine. Okay, number 8. Put a blue lens on everything that's got a screen. So you can put a blue lens on, which is a glare gadget. If you put it, you can put it on glasses. This one hasn't particularly got it, but I know that my glasses that I carry around with me, I've got a blue lens on it. You can put it onto stuff, and what it does, it takes the glare off because that glare burns a hole in your soul. And so with that sort of added, it's much safer. And even if you don't wear glasses, you can get special just lenses that you can put on that are completely clear apart from the blue, which means you can spend more time looking at the screen if you need to. Also have greenery. Apparently you should do it every half an hour or so. Have greenery or a green something you can look at. So I've got the outside garden, which is here, and I can look out there and go, ooh, trees and garden and grass and flowers and stuff like that. I don't stare at it too long, but it's nice to look away from the screen, spend some time recharging, because apparently green's a really interesting color for that. And then once you're finished, then you can go back to the grime of being online and doing all your stuff. So make sure you've got it hourly or every 30 minutes or so. It doesn't take much. Look away for about, I don't know, 2 minutes or so. Recharge your brain and go back in. It makes you feel better too. Number 9 we've already done. That's hourly. And number 10 is this one, which is increase offline relationships and relationships. I don't know why I wrote relationships twice, apart from the fact I wrote this list at about 12:30 in the morning. So that's why I was going relationships and relationships. So increase offline relationships and also offline activities is what it should be. I should change it, but I can't change it right now because it's on there. So offline activities, stuff that you do. Like for instance, for us on a Friday, we play Scrabble. Or we play Monopoly, or some family game that doesn't involve tech. It involves going, rolling dice, go like that, you roll the dice, and you go, it's your go, 2, 3, 4, go to jail. I'll say, but I didn't land on the go to jail thing. My mum says, well, my wife, as a Freudian slip, turns around and says, oh no, just go to jail. I wish you would. It's got nothing to do with Scrabble. Just go to jail. Which is not very nice, to be honest with you, but it's been one of those days. So playing games like that, if you can do it, really good. If you're playing solitaire, then that's not so good. But maybe try sketching, try doing something with your hands, macrame, or something that's really active, what doesn't involve you going on a gadget. I'm not having a go at gadgets. I'm just saying sometimes it's useful to really detox and get away from it. So that's 10 things to consider on how to dump tech and find yourself. If you get them right, or even you start doing a little bit of it, I think you'll find it makes a massive difference, and it should make you immensely happier too. Love your thoughts and comments on this. Do you agree with me? You disagree with me? Let me know, because I will be interested to see where you come from all this as well. And we're going to be doing a survey after the weekend, maybe, about something very special I'm putting together for you, which I think you'll like as well. Cool, isn't it? Yes? Say yes. Or don't. It's up to you. Speak on stage. I was interviewed yesterday on a new TV show, a YouTube show, and it was all about the future of events and the future of speakers. And I've been speaking about this for quite some time, and I've been talking about it on this show as well. This show is geared towards giving you the ability to learn to talk, the ability to find yourself, and the ability to communicate in a way that most people don't bother. Why is that important? Well, very simply, because if you're effective at communications, it also means that when you are talking to people, you will be able to appreciate the fact that they are now attuned to you as a communicator. That's what being an effective communicator is all about. In fact, being an effective communicator is not about what you say, it's about what the other person receives. Now, if you're just learning to speak, not like gaga goo goo gaga 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 like a baby, but if you're learning to communicate effectively, then the best way to communicate to really get that to be effective is to communicate to people in your own industry. Because they know the jargon, they respect you as a person, and they're going to be more likely to implement the changes you suggest than if you're talking to somebody from a different industry. So that's why I believe a new speaker is an industry icon. The new speaker is a much more effective person in their lane, in their field, in their niche. They create a relationship with the people around them, and the people around them already know that they're in a certain industry. So that gives them the ability to talk to people who really want to know more about who they are and what they do. I don't think that the industry expert is the same as the way it used to be. I don't think that being a speaker, and I've been a speaker traveling all around the world, there's no traveling all around the world for the time being. There's no having these big gigs filled with lots of people from all around the world who are saying, wow, this is a really good gig to go to. Because due to coronavirus, you've got social distancing, and because of that, it's really difficult to get the cost effectiveness of doing a gig. They're more likely to be virtual, at the very least done through Zoom, sometimes done on a full virtual platform or using holograms or other technology as well. But the odds are, using those kind of platforms, you're going to be doing it to a certain type of person. So if you're a doctor, you're working in telehealth, doing it to patients and to other doctors. If you're an industry expert, an industry icon in any particular way, shape or form, you're more likely to be doing speaking to the people in your own industry. Okay, Dave, where's this going? Well, if you can speak better than anybody else in the industry, you'll be seen as an icon very quickly because everybody's going to call you to speak. And when you become in high demand, you can turn around and charge people for it. How much can you charge? You know, $5, $10, $15, $20,000 a pop for just speaking? Oh, now you're listening. That's what an industry icon is all about. It's about getting your marketing, your branding so you can be found online, getting it so you're able to put together those presentations that are fantastic, but also rather than just being a keynote speaker, you can market yourself as a consultant for those who need a mentor or a coach or somebody to come into their business and advise them on the best tech or the best ideas or the best new ways of doing stuff. So you're doing more of what you love and you do for a living to the people who really want to be with you and learn from you because they're related to your industry. Not just a speaker, because I think those days of being flown across the world and traveling and saying, here I am, I'm a great speaker for today, are at least delayed by 1 to 2 years. So somewhere you've got to reinvent yourself, but in a certain direction. If you want to know how to market yourself, from everything from the websites, to the things you say, to the social media posts, to the comments you make, and the books you write, and the podcast you create, or even the TV show that you might decide to have, then I want to work with you. Contact me. Go to SpeakOnstage. It's got a special offer right now. I can't tell you about that because it's a special. To have a look at yourself at SpeakOnstage.com. And if you want to have a chat with me directly, then I can talk to you for about 10 minutes as a complimentary chat, and we will see how we can move you forward. And there's a link on SpeakOnstage. Look for your industry icon. Click on that, and there's a Calendly link. And when you click on that, we can do a 10 to 15 minute chat. We'll set it up. And we'll go through where you are and how realistic it is that you're able to get yourself out there and earn crazy money just by talking about what you love to people who already love what you do because they now know about it and they can access you. If that interests you, we should be talking. Exactly, the Industry Icon Program, very interesting. And I'll talk to you soon and more on that on Speak On Stage. And that's about it for today. Did you enjoy the show? It's a short and sweet show. I didn't go on as long as before, but I just did spend some time talking to you about the detoxing idea, which is also on here, which hopefully you will think about. Not just, you don't have to dump tech, but you need to find yourself and find out who you truly are. We'll do a whole new thing on finding yourself effectively in a future episode. And I did introduce you to the Daleks. That looked a bit like that, and you're joking now, you're laughing saying, Dave, there's no way there's a monster that looked like that. There was, trust me, when you see a Dalek you'll know what I'm talking about. Daleks taste good. Love your thoughts, love your comments, love your likes, love your shares, love having you every single day. I might not be on tomorrow, but I might be, or I might be off the day off. I've got some stuff I've got to do. I'm really busy, it's just crazy, it's a kick-in season for events, but as much as possible, I'm screaming, run back, and show you ways of making money. This is a great way of doing it, and that's a way of doing it, and I'm here for you. It's Dave Crane, Speak On Stage. I'm going to leave you with another video, a short one today, but one I think is rather nice, and it's all about finding that belief in yourself to be successful, regardless of what's going on around you. Look after yourself. My name is Dave Crane. Stay groovy. Love you, bye. And it doesn't really matter what people say or people think. Some days are good, some days are bad. But regardless, we get challenges, and you have to reinvent yourself to deal with a new workplace, to deal with technology, and to deal with the changes inside you. We have to keep moving. You're never going to get that safety zone, that comfort zone ever again. And that's what makes it so amazing. You really have to reinvent and become a brand new you. And the world will react, and then it'll find a place for you. It'll find a way for you to move forward. All you have to do is dream and believe, and you can be anything you want to be.